The Unseen Child, a glimpse into childhood neglect. This is a journey into the often overlooked and heartbreaking world of childhood neglect. Childhood neglect is a pervasive form of child abuse. It is not always visible, but its effects are deeply ingrained in the child's psyche. It leaves deep, lasting wounds on a child's developing mind. These wounds can shape their entire future, influencing their mental health and relationships. These wounds often remain invisible, hidden beneath a veneer of normalcy. The child may appear fine on the surface, but inside they are struggling. The impact of neglect on a child's psychological well-being is profound. It can affect their ability to trust others and feel safe in the world, and it can manifest in various ways, including difficulty forming secure attachments, low self-esteem, and an inability to regulate emotions effectively. These children often feel isolated and misunderstood. Neglectful families often operate within a framework of dysfunction. The chaos and instability in these homes create an environment where the child's needs are overlooked. The adults in these families may be grappling with their own unresolved traumas, addictions, or mental health issues. Their struggles make it difficult for them to provide the care and attention their children need. These struggles render them emotionally unavailable to meet their children's basic needs. The child is left to fend for themselves emotionally, often feeling abandoned and unloved. These children grow up in an environment devoid of consistent love, support, and validation. They learn to suppress their emotions and needs, believing they are unworthy of attention. They learn to navigate a world where their emotional needs are ignored or dismissed. This can lead to a lifetime of emotional struggles and difficulties in forming healthy relationships. The absence of a nurturing and responsive environment has a profound impact on the developing brain. It can hinder the development of crucial neural pathways. Neural pathways associated with emotional regulation, social interaction, and stress response may not develop optimally. This can result in long-term mental health issues. This can lead to long-term difficulties in forming healthy relationships, coping with stress, and achieving emotional well-being. The scars of neglect can last a lifetime. The purpose of this essay is to delve into the disturbing effects of child neglect. We aim to bring awareness to this silent epidemic. We aim to explore the ways in which different family dynamics contribute to a child's experience of emotional abandonment. By understanding these dynamics, we can better support these children. Through symbolic representations, we will shed light on the invisible struggles of a neglected child. These symbols help us understand the depth of their pain. Finally, we will examine the coping mechanisms these children develop to survive and the lasting scars that childhood trauma leaves behind. By bringing these issues to light, we hope to foster a more compassionate and supportive society for all children. A family portrait. Blindness, Vanity, and Instability. This is a story of a child growing up in a household where emotional neglect is the norm. Imagine a child living in a household with three central figures: a blind grandfather, a self-absorbed mother, and an emotionally volatile aunt. Each of these figures, in their own unique way, contributes to an environment that is emotionally barren. Each family member, in their own way, embodies a different facet of emotional neglect. Their actions and behaviours create a tapestry of isolation and disconnection. They are physically present, yet emotionally absent. The child, caught in this web of neglect, struggles to find a sense of belonging and understanding. Their inability to truly see and connect with the child creates an environment where the child feels unseen and unheard. This lack of emotional connection leaves a void that the child cannot fill.
The grandfather, blind in the literal sense, represents a broader form of blindness within the family. His physical blindness is a metaphor for the emotional blindness that pervades the household. He is oblivious to the emotional needs of those around him. His world is one of darkness, not just visually but emotionally as well. Lost in his world of darkness, he remains unaware of the child's silent struggles. His inability to see extends beyond the physical, affecting his capacity to connect with his family. His blindness becomes a metaphor for the family's inability to recognize and respond to the child's emotional cues. This lack of recognition leaves the child feeling isolated and misunderstood.
The mother, obsessed with her appearance and social standing, embodies vanity. Her preoccupation with her own image leaves little room for genuine connection with her child. She is consumed by her own reflection, both literally and metaphorically. Her world revolves around her own needs and desires. Her focus remains fixated on her own needs and desires. The child, in her eyes, becomes an accessory to her carefully constructed image. The child becomes an accessory, an extension of her carefully constructed image. This superficial connection leaves the child yearning for genuine affection and attention. The mother's preoccupation with her own needs leaves little room for genuine emotional connection with her child. This lack of attention fosters a sense of neglect and abandonment in the child.
The aunt, plagued by her own emotional instability, represents the unpredictable nature of the child's environment. Her emotional volatility creates a sense of instability and fear. Prone to dramatic outbursts and shifting moods, she uses the child as a source of emotional support. This role reversal places an undue burden on the child. The child, forced to navigate her volatile emotions, learns to suppress their own needs in order to appease her. This suppression of self leads to a loss of identity and self-worth. The aunt's instability creates an environment of fear and uncertainty. The child, caught in this emotional storm, struggles to find a sense of safety and stability.
The language of silence, symbolic representations of neglect. The family home, often perceived as a sanctuary, becomes a prison of emotional neglect for this lonely child.
The grandfather's ever-present walking stick, tapping rhythmically against the hardwood floor, serves as a constant reminder of his literal and metaphorical blindness. It represents the unseen obstacles the child faces daily, both physical and emotional.
The mother's numerous mirrors, reflecting her image back at her from every angle, symbolize her deep self-absorption. They highlight the distorted reality within which the entire family operates. The child, rarely reflected in these mirrors, learns that their presence is insignificant and unnoticed.
The aunt's ever-changing array of self-help books and mood rings embodies her emotional instability. They represent the chaotic environment the child endures daily. The child, tiptoeing around her volatile moods, learns to become invisible, to shrink their own presence to avoid triggering an outburst.
The child's own voice, rarely heard within the walls of this home, becomes a poignant symbol of their voicelessness. They learn to navigate their environment with caution, their movements measured and hesitant, their words carefully chosen or withheld entirely.
The house itself, filled with a deafening silence, becomes a testament to the child's emotional neglect and isolation. Trapped in a maze, navigating a minefield of emotions. The journey is fraught with unseen obstacles and hidden traps, much like a labyrinth where every turn holds a new challenge. Each day, the child navigates this emotionally charged environment like a tightrope walker, balancing precariously between their own needs and the expectations of those around them. They learn to anticipate the moods and reactions of the adults around them, their own needs relegated to the shadows. This constant vigilance becomes second nature, a survival mechanism in a world that often feels unpredictable.
The grandfather's blindness, while literal, extends to his inability to see the child's emotional cues. His world is dark, not just visually but emotionally, creating a chasm between him and the child's unspoken cries for help. The child learns that their attempts to communicate their needs are met with blank stares or indifference. This lack of response teaches them that their voice is not heard, their feelings not acknowledged. They begin to internalize the message that their feelings are unimportant, unworthy of attention. This realization seeps into their self-worth, eroding their confidence and sense of self.
The mother's vanity creates a constant pressure to perform, to meet her impossible standards. Her preoccupation with appearances leaves little room for the child's emotional needs. The child, aware of their own perceived shortcomings, strives to gain her fleeting approval. They perform, they adapt, they mold themselves into what they believe will earn them a rare smile or nod of approval. They learn to suppress their true self, morphing into the person they believe their mother wants them to be. This act of constant self-editing becomes exhausting, a never-ending performance. This constant need to please reinforces a sense of inadequacy and worthlessness. The child begins to believe that they are never enough, that their true self is somehow flawed.
The aunt's emotional instability transforms the house into a minefield. Her unpredictable outbursts create an atmosphere of tension and fear. The child, never knowing when the next outburst will occur, lives in a perpetual state of anxiety. This constant state of alertness becomes their norm, a baseline of stress that never truly dissipates. They become hypervigilant, constantly scanning their environment for signs of danger. Every sound, every movement is analysed for potential threats. This constant state of alertness takes a toll on their emotional and mental well-being, leaving them feeling drained and on edge. The weight of their environment presses down on them, making each day a struggle to simply get through.